everybody. Welcome to the Shero Commerce LinkedIn Live. I'm Beth Shero. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Shero Commerce. We are your e-commerce experts. I'm super excited that you've all joined today to learn more about monolithic, headless, and composable e-commerce. So we have a guest speaker from Ambientia that will be joining us. And thinking about this topic, I know some people aren't clear about which, headless versus composable, what does that mean? So we really want to get clarity around that and make sure that you know what to expect in those different scenarios and if any of those actually apply to your business needs in e-commerce. So excited to talk about that topic today. Before we get started, we have a couple of quick announcements. So today is the Pulse Summit in the UK with Vervant. So Genti and Shero, one of our co-founders, is at the event today. He was telling me how excited he is and great turnout. I guess they had a really big turnout with a lot of great merchants. So he's super excited to learn more there today. And so hopefully we'll get a report from him that you can all learn more about that. And then also coming up in June, on June 27th, we'll be at the New York e-commerce summit I'll be hosting the Future of Commerce panel. So super excited to bring some, fresh content there with our guest panelists and kick off the summer basically in ecom. So once again, thanks everybody for joining. If you have any questions at any time, please feel free to hop in. I would like to invite our guest Eero from Ambientia to hop in here and introduce himself. Hey Eero, how are you doing today?
Hello, it's great. Sun is shining and everything is good
Yes,
here in Finland. Yeah, so
awesome.
hello. I'm
Uh,
Eero Hakio
go
from
ahead. Go ahead.
Ambientia. So as Beth said, we are based in Finland, and I'm working as a software architect here in our commerce unit. So mainly doing my work in the ecom and also some CMS things related to the ecom solutions. I've been working years with different kinds of platforms, as well as like completely customized solutions. To name few of the platforms, there's from the ecom Magento or Adobe Commerce nowadays, Shopify commerce tools, and then from the CMS side, platforms like Contentful, and tons of related services, search engines, recommendations, asset management, and so on. So I'm more like a technical guy because I still work as a hands-on developer, but I can safely say that I know many of the pros and cons of the different architectural models in the ecom field. So
Awesome.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
a short background of myself.
Thank you, Arrow. You have a lot of great experience with so many different types of platforms. And I think the great thing about Ambientia is that your team is always thinking about the business needs and architecting things that help with business efficiency, also making a great customer experience. And we'll dive more into this, but there's not one solution that fits everybody's needs, right? So that's like where your brilliant mind comes into play, where you have all this depth of knowledge where you can help architect these solutions based on the business needs, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We have a great team of people here who are constantly driving to create solutions that are fitting their clients' needs. And like you said yourself, there's no one size fits all kind of system. So every one is different.
Awesome. So let's dive in and just talk a little bit about, monolithic, headless, composable. These maybe are kind of trendy words, some people think, but I think there's a lot of importance to naming what they are and, some simple examples and like we'll dive into like actual examples of using them in the real world. But if we start with monolithic, this is really an all-in-one solution, kind of like an Adobe Commerce. Not that you couldn't use it in a headless way, but or composable, but typically it's more monolithic. It's a really tight solution where it's hard to be flexible with it in some capacity. It's kind of like a one size fits all, which I know you're going to dive more into, but we also have the headless approach, which is the front end presentation. So it's kind of like a middle ground between the monolithic and composable. So, like a great
Yeah.
example of this is the Shopify Hydrogen headless tech stack. If anyone's familiar with that, I know they built that out of the necessity of um, allowing people to customize the front end more easily. And then finally, we have the composable, which is really a very modular solution. And some quick examples of that would be like the new release with the big Commerce Catalyst storefront, commerce tools. I know you're going to have an example too where you're using Magento Community as a composable element. But that's kind of like at a high level, and we have kind of a slide just to show this. But anything else you want to add into that, Arrow, before we kind of dig more into each of those?
Well, it's like comparing the monolithic and the headless. It's kind of easy to make the line like where it is. Like when you have the headless front end, it's basically uh, you know you have it. But when you are moving towards the composable end, then it's more like hard to distinguish in some ways. Like when you are having a composable and when you are having a headless version of the shop, because both of them usually utilize some sort of ecom solution behind
Right.
the scenes. Of course, there are like different differences comparing like how much you utilize, for example, the ecom platform itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you have like a really nice graphic that kind of shows it in more detail.
Yeah,
So do you want to talk to this a little bit and explain your thought process of how, going composable for some customers really creates a future that's easier to be agile
yeah,
and adaptable?
yeah, sure thing. So like starting from the left side, which is the monolithic, I think it's easy to understand. You have a one ecom system that tries to do everything. You build all the customizations you need to that system to provide the required capabilities uh, for the end customers who are using the ecom. It's like the name says, it's a monolithic, and uh, moving towards that point, you can add like a headless front end on top of the existing monolithic ecom system. For example, Magento or Adapt Commerce or it could be Shopify or whatever, as long as you have it running headless. But then once we transform more to the composable, you are trying to pinpoint the different functionalities that you have on the site. For example, search engine, product recommendations, assets management, and all that, and utilize different specialized SaaS systems for those. And for the customizations or for the parts that you don't have ready made from third party system, those you build as a microservice in the cloud environment. And I think that's kind of the key element there, because in monolithic world you can still do the customizations, but you are building all of them on top of the single platform. But when you are doing it composable way, you have lots of small pieces here and there, and they are all responsible of specific things. Architectural wise, composable is much more complex because
Right.
you have tons of different services, tons of different microservices, and all those things. But in the end, all of those are simple usually. Like the single components, they are simple and easy to maintain.
Right. And you're using like the best in breed for that solution, and it's like easy to plug things in and out. So like if the business makes a shift, you can do that more easily since it's broken up in pieces versus like a monolithic where you have to do a lot more to make those changes, right? Is that a good example?
Yeah, and I think like because usually if we take a example of, let's say, product recommendations, you have different engines running the recommendations or the search engine. Uh, you have different search engines. You can pick the one that suits to your needs, to your business needs, or the required capabilities that you need in your shop. Usually they have quite similar uh, things, but there are differences, and that's usually the tough part to find the requirements from our client and pick the one that fits to those needs. So yeah, it's not
Cool.
an easy task in that sense. Mm. And this is more from the like product experience because we all know how important product data is for the users who are visiting the ecom, and it's also part of the big part of the uh, composable structure. Many companies they utilize product information management or as a short PIM for managing their product data, and that's one of the piece you can see on the right hand side in the puzzle. So, or it's not a puzzle. It's like a bunch of small services, but
Guys,
yeah.
all working together.
Yeah, they are working together. But yeah, it's like you can use the data in different systems. It doesn't always need to be that you only have the ecom that uses the data. You have the website that uses the data. You can have lots of different internal processes or something that requires the same data, and you reuse it. It's kind of the same as with the headless CMS. You want to reuse the data as much as possible.
Yeah, I actually found another example that shows it too. Like, as you can see here, like you might have data coming from your retail store or customer service system. So it's like just having so many different touch points of different data, I think is useful to see where it becomes really valuable for businesses that are scaling and growing. Um, but yeah, I mean, I love this idea, and like there's not a one size fits all is something to consider, right? We kind of said that in the beginning. Um, I think the business needs are critical. And when you're going composable, usually it's like you have very specific needs, right? And you're going to have some
Yeah.
examples that we're going to talk through that talk about what those needs might be because it is an investment, but it can get you great results, right? I don't know. Is there anything else you want to add to think about or consider when making these decisions?
Yeah, I think that's like there's usually those two cases. You either want to have the state of the art solution, or you have very highly specialized needs, or you want both. So you have
Right.
specialized needs, but you also require the state of art functionalities for the things that you do. So yeah.
Awesome. And one thing that I thought was super valuable is because when some people think of composable, they think it's so complex and maybe costly, but there are lightweight approaches to this, which I love that you're going to kind of share some of those. Can you talk any more to that or any other comments you want to say? Because people get scared sometimes when you think composable, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of reasonable in that sense that you can. It's easy to spend lots of lots of money building this the state of the art solution and
Yeah.
utilizing lots of services and building integrations and all those things. It's easy to spend some hours there, but like said, it's crucial to identify the requirements you have. Probably even modify your processes based on the systems and how they are performing. And usually, if you are willing to modify your internal processes, then you can spend some, or you can save some bucks from the actual development work.
Yeah.
So
I love
that's
that you raise that because I think that comes up across the board on any of the solutions you pick. Not that you want to like reinvent the wheel, but there are a lot of cases where businesses have evolved their processes over time, but then when they try to fit it into this new ecom world, technology world, if they don't adapt their, the way they're doing their business, it sometimes creates additional work on the ecom side. So, and I've seen that across the board on all solutions. I think that's super valuable for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for raising that. And then we have some benefits. So, we kind of mentioned these before, but composables can be lightweight. It's very scalable. It avoids any limitations, and it's creating the best fit for your business needs. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that before we jump into your examples?
Well, I think the scalability and the transformation of different from one point to another point, like thinking about the future, that's the most valuable in my opinion, and keeping everything maintainable and easy to develop. So yeah, I think those are the key points there.
Awesome. So you have two examples that you've been working on at Ambientia. Do you kind of want to talk through these? And these are composable or semi-composable solutions.
Yeah. Well, yeah. For the Eurogangas case, it's kind of in middle of transformation, so to say.
Yeah.
Uh, Starting from like Magento community, utilizing the headless front end there. It's the Vue storefront, which is nowadays kind of quite a lot customized front end application. But in add-on of that, they have added bunch of third-party systems to this stack later on. Clevo is handling the search and recommendations, and also actually the category page navigations and all those things. So everywhere where you see product listings, you get them from Clevo.
Yeah,
Uh,
nice.
Cloudinary is used for the asset management, all the transformations of images, optimizing them from different uh, devices and so on. Lexas CMS, it's a headless CMS solution, similar to Contentful, for example.
Okay.
Quite similar, actually. Uh, then there's some customized services as well that are providing necessary functionalities for the end users. I think the why here is that, well, of course they want to be best what they do. They're selling fabrics here in Finland, and they do have like also like tailored products, so you can order, for example, cut to size curtains, like
Okay.
tailored products. And there's lots of different options when you are ordering curtains. It's not only the height, but there's different options to choose from, and that kind of engine was one of the reasons why they went to headless
Mhm.
content, because it needs to be dynamically built, and of course all the related products to relate those. Uh, but this is a good example. Like I said, they have also modified their internal processes to work with the uh, SaaS products and utilize as much of them as possible. For example, they have automated their photo booth, like where they take pictures of the fabrics and how they are processed to the actual website. It's highly automated process, and they utilize Cloudinary for that. And
Awesome.
the like programmable media that they provide is very helpful in this case.
Yeah,
So
I know that's definitely a challenge for a lot of customers, how to stay um, up to date with photography, and like
mm,
every channel that you're selling on has different requirements now, and it's becoming more and more demanding. So that sounds like they've tackled that by automating it a bit and streamlining that process. That's awesome.
yeah, there's so many different kinds of fabrics, and like what they look like, and how you can get images that perform well on the web, because well, fabric is not an easy object to photograph. So yeah,
Yeah, like you can't touch it or feel it, so you
yeah.
need to show a lot of detail and have the
Yeah.
colors be accurate. So interesting. Okay.
Uh, but while having the detail, you still need to have it as low file size as possible, so it doesn't burden your performance of your web store. So it's kind of like you need to balance there with the detail and with the performance of your site. And Cloudinary provided great methods for that. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, so this is a very unique business need in the
yeah,
fabric world, right? And then we're going to jump to another one
yeah.
that's more, around cars. So do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, as far as I know, they're the first one who are actually doing the whole sales process of cars through ecom here in Finland. So it's also not an easy task to do, because well, you have the new cars, but you also have the used cars. And at
Right.
least here, it's quite common that you have your old car, so you're exchanging the car to a new one. So there's usually a process that requires like evaluation of your old car, and uh, before you can buy a new one, and you get like well, it's not a discount, but you pay part of the price with your old car.
Right. It's
So
like
you
a
can,
credit, basically.
yeah, you get like a credit. So they have, for example, automated process for that, and of course all the credit applications online that are previously usually done with the car dealership when you visit them, but from there you can do everything online. uh, Technology wise, it's more like a customized solution
Right.
than utilizing the different SaaS systems. There is a bunch of them, again, for the search, for the asset management, the headless front end, and then here they have lots of like I put it as a third party service, but they are like internal services, so to say, or where they are pulling data and showing it on the site. But yeah, there's many custom processes that they utilize for their dealers. And like I said, it's not an easy task to sell cars with this kind of model. And again, uh, this kind of architecture is great because you have lots of custom needs.
Yeah. And I mean, like selling a lot, it's an expensive item. So you,
Mm.
you definitely have to make sure that it's set up so people feel they can trust it. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's so much that must go into it to make sure it can be successful and that it's as seamless as possible. Because it would create a lot of headaches if your online credit application was messed up, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, there are still some manual processes, of
I'm
course. For
sure.
example, of course, if you have like some very special car that you want to exchange, it's very hard to automate, like evaluation of your exchange car price if it's something very rare, for example. So yeah, there are still manual steps in some cases, but they
Oh,
have nailed it, the basic process.
very cool. So I think those are the main examples we wanted to share today, just to show, unique business needs using different types of solutions that fit those business needs and trying to strive for using the latest technology to automate and drive the business forward. So I think these are great examples, and I would love to like follow up on the post and actually share those websites so people can take a look.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up today, Arrow, any other final tips or suggestions when trying to decide on how to proceed with your platform? What do you have any final remarks?
Well, there's like basically, I would say there's two ways or three ways. You can stick with the existing one if you have one, of
Hmm.
course. You can try to transform it to something else. So, like, good example is the Eurokangas case, picking like piece by piece, um, instead of going all in.
Like,
or you have the third option to go all in, trash everything, and build from the scratch. But uh, well, it depends on the case. It depends like how are the requirements, and again, those are the most important things to first settle down. What is your requirements? What kind of things you want? What kind of things there are currently that are not working as they should be, or should be better, or like, yeah, I, I, I can't highlight it enough. to,
yeah, yeah.
mm,
I'm sure there's so much thought that goes into it, and you have to collect information to really make the best suggestion. So I totally feel that, but we really appreciate you joining, Eero, and your insight is very valuable. And I hope everybody that's watching has learned something. If you have questions, please feel free to share them. We're happy to answer any questions. And I think if, unless you have anything else, Eero, I'll wrap it up for today.
yeah, it's okay. Thank you for inviting me, and it's a nice topic to discuss. So whenever you have a urge, you can call me.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you. Once again, quick reminder, as I said it in the beginning, but in case you hopped in late, we will be on June 27th at the New York e-commerce summit. And I'll be hosting the future e-commerce panel, which is going to be super fun and exciting. I'm excited for that. So hopefully we can see some folks from New York City joining there. And I guess that will be it for today. Thank you again for joining. I'm Beth Shero. Always be learning.